Welcome to Sonic Studio and Amarra computer music players for the Apple Macintosh. In this video tutorial, I'll demonstrate how to get perfect gapless playback of your music collection's performances, such as concept albums, symphonic recordings, or live continuous performances, using Sonic Studio's Amarra music players. A gapless album is a type of album in which some or all of the tracks are intended to be heard seamlessly without any pause. Since music on your computer is really a set of separate files, those files need to be pre-organized prior to playback. Gapless playback is accomplished via Preload Tracks mode in Amarra Hi-Fi, Amarra, and Amarra Symphony, or Playlist mode in Amarra or Amarra Symphony. There are some minor differences between how gapless playback functions in each mode. I'll describe those differences in detail later. For either preload tracks or playlist modes to work as expected, the sort order of the albums needs to be specifically set in iTunes. The proper setup in iTunes is clicking on Songs, then selecting the column for Album and making sure it's set to Album by Artist with the arrow facing up. A few clicks will set this properly. While sorting by album will work, we've learned that album by artist sorting tends to provide more finite ordering, particularly with albums that are by different artists but share the same name. Greatest Hits as an album title is one good example. You should also disable iTunes Shuffle mode here. The first way to play back gapless files in Amarra is using the Preload Tracks feature. Preload Tracks is primarily designed for one purpose: playing back gapless performances in Amarra using iTunes as the library. The Preload Tracks feature readies the album you have selected in your iTunes library and loads that gapless album songs into your Amarra player prior to playback. Setting up this feature is simple. Open your Amarra Applications Preferences window by selecting Preferences from the Amarra menu or Command +, Select how many tracks you want to preload. Album is best and most common. And next select Preload Tracks. This dialog box reminds you of the correct way to sort your songs in iTunes. We discussed this earlier. Click OK and close the Preferences window. Here's a hint. Once it's set up properly, you can easily toggle preload tracks on and off here. I want to confirm the gapless playback of this album by examining the playback in a spectrogram here in the right-hand margin. This test file here is a 44.1 kHz, 1 minute long, 100 Hz test tone that's been divided into 5 separate tracks. You might ask, why do I use a tone instead of music for this test? Because of the simple sine wave nature of this file, it's easier to hear that a test tone is playing back as gapless, and it's impossible for a player to play this sine wave back as gapless via some DSP mumbo-jumbo. Let's listen. You may want to watch the spectrogram here on the right-hand side. Going to roll into track 2. And on into track 3. We can see that by selecting the Tracks button, all 5 tracks are present here and loaded properly for gapless playback. There's track 4. Notice the spectrogram has no issues or dropouts in it. It's a perfectly cohesive line. That's perfect. No ticks, clicks, or pops. You can see the spectrogram is in perfect shape. Note that most albums are not designed for gapless playback. You may want to turn off preload tracks for general use. Now, let's talk about playlist mode in Amarra or Amarra Symphony. Playlist mode is the easiest way to play gapless albums. Using Amarra playlists provides several benefits, including processing your music more efficiently than in Amarra iTunes mode, resulting in better sound quality, the ability to run independently of iTunes, and the capacity to play back FLAC or DSD files. I have a 192 kHz song here in iTunes that's been cut up into 5 short segments. Step 1 is to select the songs to load into your playlist. There are a few ways to do this, but I like to select all of the files in the album. Step 2 is to load your album into Amarra Player's cool playlist window. You enter playlist mode by clicking either the playlist button here in the Amarra user interface, or from the playlist menu, select playlist window. Use the add button here in the user interface, the add iTunes button here in the playlist window, or from the playlist menu, select add tracks from iTunes. Using either of these commands loads all of the tracks in your album from iTunes into the playlist window. Step 3 is to play your album and enjoy the music. Either press the spacebar on your keyboard, select the play button from up here in the Amarra user interface, or double-click on the first song in the playlist window. That's it. Let's listen through the first transition here.
I didn't mean to love you, but I guess that's the way.
Ah, perfect.
You were a single kid.
So let's review how to set up an album for gapless playback. In both Amarra iTunes Preload and Playlist mode, sort order of your album in iTunes is critical. Since your Amarra player takes the info about playback from the order in which they're sorted in iTunes, sorting your iTunes library as album by artist is very important. Use the Preload Tracks feature for gapless playback using iTunes. Use Playlist mode. Playlist mode is the easiest way to play gapless albums in Amarra or Amarra Symphony. Uncompressed files are required for gapless playback in Amarra. Use AIFF, WAV, or Broadcast WAV. MP3, AAC, ALAC, FLAC, and other compressed file formats will not perform as expected. Leaving preload on may cause unintended playback problems. Preload tracks is intended for gapless album playback and is not recommended or encouraged for most normal listening use using iTunes. Thanks for watching, and if any questions arise about how to use your Amarra music player, contact us at sales@sonicstudio.com. You can also visit our website at www.sonicstudio.com.